Uh, Next topic is on nutrition elderly patients with CKD and frailty. This is also important topic, and
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin with thanking the organizers for this wonderful conference on hospitality. A few disclaimers before I begin. I'm going to be talking about nutrition in the elderly. Everything I share today is backed by data. For want of time, I'm not citing the studies, but you can ask me after the talk. Indian specific data does remain limited in this field, but assuming what we know about Indian diets, just assume everything is much worse for the Indian population. So why we are discussing this topic today is for this patient who all of you have seen in your OPD, a 72-year-old male who has a creatinine of 3.5. He's a CKD stage 4. He has poor appetite since his last visit to you. He has lost 4 to 5 kgs of weight. He's looking like he's walking slowly and his grip is weaker. But the family is constantly asking you how much protein should they restrict to control the urea and creatinine levels. The standard CKD protocols would favor a protein restriction. However, the doctor in you and the geriatrician wants to prioritize his muscle mass, his muscle strength, and his muscle function. So how do we balance both is what my talk is about today. This is called the frailty paradox. How do we balance the CKD guidance and retarding the progress of CKD with how to manage frailty? Before I go forward, I want you to understand what frailty is. Frailty is not what you identify as just weakness. A normal individual has a physiological reserve and an inherent ability to fight against outside stressors. This is called a healthy state. Whereas a frail individual doesn't have this reserve. So their physiological reserve is extremely limited and they have an increased vulnerability to outside stressors. Every time they get a stressor like infection, acidosis, a minor procedure, their physiological reserve becomes even lesser. So this is a multi-system state, which is because of biochemical, cellular, genetic, physiological, social, cultural factors, and it's not limited to single organ system. This is called frailty. Frailty is not multimorbidity. Multimorbidity is a person, your CKD patient who also has osteoarthritis, has dementia, has cardiac disease. That's multimorbidity. And yes, this person is at risk of frailty, but he is not necessarily frail. Frailty is also not disability, meaning a person who's walking slowly or coming on a wheelchair is not by default frail. But yes, if you continue to not identify him and correct him, all frail people may become disabled eventually. So you need to know the difference. This I really want to stress on is you cannot eyeball frailty. You don't know, no matter how experienced you are, that this person is frail and this isn't. Because even if a person is looking healthy to you, he may still be suffering from severe sarcopenia. He may have the fat frail syndrome where they look obese but actually are very frail. He may have mitochondrial dysfunction. This is exactly what was looked at in a study done in the UK in 2025, where they actually looked at nephrologists and found that nephrologists tend to highly underclassify frailty and they tend to overclassify pre-frailty. So don't go by eyeballing. There are criteria, very good clinical scores to identify frailties. The ones I like are quick and easy to use in the clinic. This is the Fried Frailty Phenotype. It takes into account slow walking speed, low physical activity, unintentional weight loss, self-reported exhaustion, and objective weakness. If you have more than 3 criteria, you're frail. What I like to use is the clinical frailty scale. You guys can all find it on the internet. This is very easy to use, takes about 3 minutes to do in the OPD, and can quickly identify the frail people. So frailty is bad. I've established that. But what does it have to do with aging kidneys, which is the topic today? This is what it has to do with aging kidneys. You see the faint gray line there? So in the normal population also, above 65, which is the age for elderly, about 3 to 7% of people may be frail. But this is Western data, so let's assume in Indians, 10 to 20% of people are frail. But look at what happens in CKD. If you suffer from CKD and you're more than 65, there's almost a 70 to 80% chance that you are frail. Why does CKD make frailty so much worse? It's because of this uremic milieu that drives muscle catabolism. I really like this, a talk I heard recently which described frailty as Imagine your body is a wooden house in a snowstorm. When you age, your supply of wood for heat, for generating fire is stopped. But when you're aging and you're suffering from CKD, the windows are left open and the floor is being burned down to generate heat. That's what frailty in CKD looks like. It leads to protein energy wasting, muscle loss, and lower resilience. So now what do? Do we go with the KDOQI guidelines which say, CKD progression retarding needs 0.4 to 0.6 gram per kg per day of protein restriction? Or should we go to the geriatric focus where we talk about high protein diet if they are at risk of protein energy wasting? The fact is, severe protein restriction, we all know, accelerates all kinds of decline in elderly. First, you're putting them on an unpalatable protein-restricted diet. Please remember that not only restricts their protein, it also restricts their caloric intake. These people are in a caloric deficit. Then they go into protein energy wasting because you're not giving them the required fuel, so their body is eating up its own muscle to generate this fuel. This leads to severe sarcopenia, and they have accelerated muscle loss, which is why our patients are getting admitted more with falls in the morning, hip fractures, more hospitalizations, more death. So the answer is pretty clear. Preserving the patient matters more than preserving the kidney. You have to identify your patients who are at risk of increased death, increased morbidity, and treat them differently from your regular CKD progression. Okay. So we understand frailty in CKD matters, but how do we spot this? This is the important question, because I told you can't eyeball and identify who's frail and who's not. This doesn't even only need frailty scores, it requires a comprehensive geriatric assessment. And I think if we all work together using our physician assistants, our junior doctors, our nutritionists, I think we can come up with a practical plan of identifying our patients. We can use the frailty indexes, we can use nutritional markers. Professor Sampath sir just mentioned SGA and MIS scores. We can use general albumin and these parameters and come up with an idea of whether our patients are frail or not. So now, we found patients at risk. You do this assessment and okay, these patients are at risk. So what do we actually feed them? What's a plan different from your KDOQI guidelines that can help these patients? Well, actually, this is a very, very multimodal intervention. If you have frail elderly CKD, there's exercise and rehab, hormonal therapies, nutritional therapies, pharmacological interventions, and holistic psychosocial approach. But I'm going to talk about two interventions that can be practiced immediately. One of them is a low-protein, adequate energy compromise. This is a diet which involves telling your patients, take moderate protein, not severe protein restriction, so take about 0.6 to 0.8 gram per kg per day of protein, plus high energy. Insist that they take a high caloric diet. And that leads to muscle preservation. There is enough data to say that if you put patients at risk on an LPA diet, they don't get malnourished and they don't progress, their CKD doesn't progress as fast. However, if you're dealing with a patient who has protein energy wasting, you need to abandon all your guidelines of protein restriction and you need to target a more than 1.2 gram per kg per day protein for them. Because with severe frailty and protein energy malnutrition, they are at risk of increased death. Kidney or no kidney, your patient is not going to survive. So you must follow a high protein diet here. So that was all the theory, but what do we do tomorrow? So do I have a plan for all of you when you go back tomorrow to your clinics that you can follow? Yes, certainly I do. I think what we need to do is quickly screen our patients, maybe do a frailty index, send these patients for a specialized assessment by our renal nutritional team or your junior doctor team, make a plan, make some guidelines in your department, assess which patients are at, Sampath sir just showed data where out of 15 of his patients, 90% of them were severely malnourished. So identify those who have protein energy wasting, are severely malnourished, or identify those who are at risk of this. Those at risk can immediately be counseled for an LPA diet. Make sure you increase their calories and come off with the extreme protein restriction. And those who are already malnourished need to be put on a high protein diet. And the outcomes are going to be a longer life, less morbidity, and a happier patient. So the take-home messages are simple. screen early, feed adequately, preserve muscle, and individualize care. I end with a quote from none other than the father of medicine. It is more important to know what sort of person has a disease than to know what sort of disease a person has. Thank you.